My girlfriend of 6 years said not yet, maybe down the line when I proposed for the second time. So I ended our relationship that night. Her family is calling me heartless, but I think I finally found my backbone. Look, I am still processing this, and honestly, I cannot believe I am typing these words, but I ended things with Laura last night. After 6 years together, after living together for 3 years, after what I thought was the love of my life. And it all came down to 4 words that keep echoing in my head. Not yet. Maybe down the line. This was the second time she said those exact same words to me. The second time I got down on one knee, opened a ring box, and heard not yet. So last night, after our perfect date, dinner at the place where we had our first anniversary, walking through Pike Place Market, laughing like we always do, I tried again. I had been carrying this ring around for months, waiting for the right moment. The weight of it in my pocket had become familiar, like a constant reminder of hope. Everything felt perfect. She was talking about how happy she was, how much she loved our life together, how grateful she was that we had found each other. She even mentioned how her coworker had been asking when we were getting married, and she had laughed it off but seemed lighter about it somehow. I thought she was finally ready. We got home around 9:30. She was curled up on the couch, feet tucked under her, still glowing from our perfect evening. I watched her from the doorway, this woman I had loved for 6 years, and my heart was racing. This felt right. This felt like the moment. She was smiling at something on her phone. Probably photos from our date. The living room was lit by our favorite lamp. The same one we had picked out together at IKEA 3 years ago when we first moved in. I got down on one knee right there next to the couch where we had watched thousands of movies together. Opened the box. The ring caught the light, sparkling like it was meant for this moment. And the look on her face wasn't surprise or joy. It was panic. Pure, unmistakable panic. Not yet. Daniel, maybe a little more down the line. The exact same words, the exact same tone, like she had rehearsed them. Something inside me just broke, or maybe it finally snapped into place. I don't know. But I stood up, closed the ring box, and said very calmly, "Then we are done." She started crying immediately, asking what I meant, saying I was being dramatic. But I wasn't angry. I was just clear. For the first time in years, I was completely clear about what was happening. I told her I had fallen out of love, that I respect marriage too much to treat it like an endless someday. That her second no was, for me, the final no. The conversation that followed was heartbreaking. She kept saying things like, "But we are so good together, and why does marriage matter so much when we already act married? And I thought you understood that I needed time." But that is when I realized something that hit me like a truck. She didn't need time. She needed me to stop asking. I slept in the guest room last night. This morning she kept asking why, like nothing had changed. Like I hadn't just realized that 6 years of my life had been spent waiting for someone who would never choose me. She made coffee for both of us, set out my favorite mug, asked if I wanted to go to the farmer's market like we do every Saturday. I looked at her and saw someone who genuinely believed we could just go back to normal, that I would just accept not yet again and keep waiting. I gave her a month to find a new place. Reddit. Am I insane? Her sister Sarah has been blowing up my phone, calling me cruel and heartless. Her parents are devastated. Her mom left me a voicemail crying, saying I was throwing away something beautiful over a piece of paper. Our mutual friends are divided. Half think I am being too harsh, that I should have given her more time, that love doesn't need a timeline. Half are saying finally, like they have been waiting for me to wake up. But here's what I keep coming back to. If you love someone enough to marry them, wouldn't you say yes? Wouldn't your heart leap at the chance to build a life together? Wouldn't you be excited instead of panicked? My friend Michael came over this morning with breakfast sandwiches and just sat with me while I tried to make sense of it all. He didn't say much, just listened. But at one point he said, "Dan, you know what the difference is between someone who wants to marry you and someone who doesn't? The person who wants to marry you says yes. That simple, that obvious. And I had been too in love to see it." Update 1. First off, to everyone who said red flag that she said no twice, You are absolutely right. But let me explain how I became the kind of man who would propose twice to someone who clearly didn't want to marry him. Because trust me, past me would have judged present me too. The first proposal was 18 months ago. We had been together 4.5 years, and I thought wrong about everything. It was during our Colorado vacation with her family. Big extended family trip with parents, siblings, cousins, the whole crew. Laura's family does this big reunion every summer, and I had been going for 3 years by then. They treated me like family, always included me in everything, asked my opinion on family decisions. I felt like I belonged. I had been planning the proposal for months, asked her dad for permission during a hiking trip we took together in March. He cried when I asked, said yes immediately, told me he had been hoping I would ask soon, had the ring custom made by a jeweler in downtown Seattle who Laura had admired once when we were walking by, coordinated with the restaurant at the resort for the perfect setup. Picture this. Mountain sunset, fairy lights they would strung up just for us. Everyone she loved gathered around. I got down on one knee in front of literally 20 people who all expected her to say yes. Her cousin had even brought a camera to capture the moment. She froze. Just completely froze. For what felt like hours but was probably 30 seconds. Her face went white, and I watched all the joy drain out of her eyes. Then she whispered, "Not yet. Maybe down the line." The silence at that table. Guys, I wanted to disappear. Her mom started crying, but not happy tears. Her dad looked like someone had died. Her teenage niece actually said, "What?" out loud before her mom shushed her. I felt like a complete fool standing there with this ring box open. Everyone staring at us. I somehow managed to close the box, give her a hug, and tell everyone we had talk about it later. But the rest of the vacation was torture. Family members kept approaching me privately, asking if everything was okay, if they could help somehow. Her aunt pulled me aside and said, "She is probably just overwhelmed. Dear, give her time." But here is where I made my first mistake. I believed her when she pulled me aside that night and explained. We went for a walk around the resort, just the two of us, and she cried and apologized, and explained that she wasn't ready yet, but she would be. She said she needed her career to stabilize. She had just gotten promoted to senior marketing director and was traveling constantly. She said she needed to feel more financially secure. We were splitting everything 50-50, but she made less than me and was still paying off student loans. She said she needed the timing to be perfect. "I want to marry you," she said, holding my hands and looking me straight in the eyes. "I love you more than anything. I just need a little more time to feel ready. Can you give me that?" And like an idiot, I said okay. Reading your comments, I realize how many red flags I ignored. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. That comment hit hard because it is so obvious in hindsight. So I waited, and slowly started to feel hopeful again when she began dropping hints about weddings. She had point out dresses in magazines and say things like that, "Is gorgeous. What do you think?" She had talked about how she wanted her dad to walk her down the aisle someday. She would joke about our future kids having my stubborn streak and her organizational skills. My friend Michael kept warning me. We would be out for beers and he would say, "Dude, if she wanted to marry you, she would have said yes the first time." But I didn't want to hear it. I was so deep in this situation that I couldn't see clearly anymore. I kept thinking about the sunk cost, about how much we had invested, about how perfect we were together in every other way. I thought her no really was just about timing. Here is what I am realizing now, thanks to many of your comments. She was dropping wedding hints because she thought that is what I needed to stay, not because she actually wanted to get married. My mom even asked me once, about 6 months after the first proposal, if Laura was warming up to the idea. I told her about the dress comments and the wedding talk, and my mom got this look on her face. She said, "Honey, talking about something and wanting something are two different things." I should have listened. The second proposal happened about a week ago. Quiet this time. Just us. I had learned my lesson about public pressure. We had had the most perfect day together, slept in late, made breakfast together, spent the afternoon at Pike Place Market, came home, and cooked dinner while dancing around the kitchen to old songs. She seemed genuinely happy, relaxed. She had been less stressed about work lately, had gotten a bonus that helped her pay off one of her loans. She had even brought up the idea of us taking a trip to Europe next year, saying things like, when we go to Italy instead of if we go to Italy. Like maybe she was finally ready to think long-term with me. After dinner, we were sitting on the couch, her feet in my lap, talking about our friends Jake and Monica, who had just gotten engaged. She said, "I am so happy for them. They are going to have a beautiful wedding." That is when I knew. This was the moment. I went to our bedroom, got the ring from where I had been hiding it in my sock drawer, came back to the living room. She was still curled up on the couch, smiling at something on her phone. When I got down on one knee and opened that ring box, her smile disappeared instantly. Not yet. Maybe a little more down the line. The exact same words, the exact same apologetic tone. Something clicked in my brain. I realized that maybe down the line is just a polite way of saying never. But I don't want to hurt you. I realized I had spent 18 months waiting for someone to choose me who had already chosen not to. And guys, I realized I had fallen out of love with someone who kept me in relationship limbo for a year and a half. The aftermath has been brutal. Laura's been crying every day, asking why I am giving up on us. She keeps saying things like, "I thought you loved me enough to wait, and why is marriage more important than what we have?" Her family thinks I am heartless for not giving her more time. Her sister Sarah actually asked me how long I expected Laura to wait for me to be ready, completely missing the point that I have been ready for 2 years. Her mom called me yesterday and said, "Daniel, she loves you so much. She is just scared. Cannot you see that?" But here is what I told her mom, and what I wish I had realized sooner. Being scared of marrying someone after 6 years together isn't the same as needing more time. It is a fundamental incompatibility. But my friends, my family, they are relieved. My mom literally said, "Thank God. I was worried you would wait forever." My dad, who is usually pretty quiet about relationship stuff, said, "Son, the right woman will not need to be convinced." Even my sister, who has always liked Laura, said, "I am proud of you for choosing yourself." Laura moves out this weekend. She asked me yesterday if this was really it. If I was really throwing away 6 years. I told her I wasn't throwing away anything. I was just finally accepting what she had been telling me all along. She said she thought we had forever. I said forever starts with yes, not maybe. I think that is when it finally hit her that I was serious. She started crying harder and said, "But I might have been ready next year, or the year after." That is when I knew I had made the right choice. Might have been ready after 6 years together. Update 2: Laura moved out last weekend. The move itself was awful. 6 years of shared belongings, trying to figure out who gets what, the bookshelf we built together, the dishes we had collected from different trips, the art we had bought for our first apartment. She kept crying and asking if we could try couples therapy now. Now, after I had suggested it twice, and she had refused. She offered to go to individual therapy too, to figure out her commitment issues. All the things I had asked for over the past year, suddenly on the table when it was too late. The hardest part was watching her pack up her side of our bedroom. 6 years of shared space, suddenly divided. She left me the good coffee maker and took the painting her mom had given us. I kept the dining room table and she took the couch where we had spent countless Sunday mornings reading together. I helped her load the last box into her car. It was raining, typical Seattle weather, and she stood there in our driveway. Sorry, my driveway now, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. "I thought we had forever," she said, rain mixing with tears on her face. That is when I said it, forever starts with yes, not maybe. She got in her car and drove away. I watched her taillights disappear around the corner, went inside, poured a glass of wine, and sat in our suddenly too quiet house. I felt empty, but also, strangely at peace, like I would finally stop holding my breath. But here is the part that has been messing with my head. 3 days after she moved out, her sister Sarah called me. Sarah and I had always gotten along well. She is Laura's older sister, married with 2 kids, very practical and straightforward. Laura always said Sarah was the sensible one in their family. Sarah apologized for her harsh texts initially. She said she had reacted defensively to protect Laura, then realized I deserved to know the truth. She was angry, not at me, but at Laura. She said she couldn't watch me get attacked by their family when I deserved to know what was really going on. "The truth, Daniel," she said. "Laura never wanted to get married. Not to you, not to anyone. She is terrified of marriage. Always has been." I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. I had to sit down. Sarah continued. "Do you remember when our cousin Emma got divorced 3 years ago? Laura was obsessed with that divorce. She kept talking about how Emma had lost herself in marriage, how she had given up her independence. Laura has always seen marriage as a trap. 6 years. Read it. 6 years with someone who fundamentally viewed marriage as something to be avoided, not celebrated. But it gets worse. Sarah told me that after the first proposal, Laura had called her crying. Not because she was overwhelmed or needed time, but because she was panicked that I had proposed at all. She only started dropping those wedding hints because she panicked after Colorado, Sarah said. She thought if she talked about marriage enough, you would think she was warming up to the idea and stop pressuring her. She never intended to actually do it. I asked Sarah why she never told me this before. Why she would initially attack me when I ended things. "Because I kept hoping Laura would figure it out," she said. "I kept hoping she would either realize she actually did want to marry you, or that she would be honest about not wanting it. And honestly, when you first broke up with her, I reacted like a protective sister. I didn't think about how unfair that was to you, knowing what I knew. But then Sarah told me something that made me feel sick. After the second proposal, Laura had admitted something to her. I kept saying, 'Not yet,' because I hoped he would eventually stop asking and just be happy with how things were. She hoped I had just stopped wanting marriage, stop wanting the thing that meant everything to me. And here is the part that actually made me feel sick. Laura told Sarah she thought she could string me along indefinitely because I was too loyal to leave. Too loyal to leave. She literally counted on me being too loyal to respect myself. I don't think I have ever felt this betrayed. Not just by the marriage thing, but by the calculated deception. She knew what she was doing. She knew she was wasting my time. Sarah apologized for not telling me sooner. She said she felt terrible watching me get hope after each wedding hint Laura dropped, knowing it was all performance. "You deserve someone who doesn't need to be convinced to marry you," Sarah said. "You deserve someone who says yes because they cannot imagine life without you officially." I asked her if Laura had ever actually loved me, or if our entire relationship had been some kind of elaborate placeholder situation. "She loved you," Sarah said, "but she loved the security of having you more than she loved the idea of building a future with you. There is a difference. That hit hard because it explained so much. Laura loved our routine, our shared life, the comfort of coupledom. But she didn't love the idea of legally, permanently binding herself to me. The worst part. Our mutual friends are still divided. Some think I was selfish for having a timeline on love. They keep saying I should have given her more time, that everyone moves at their own pace. But how much time? 7 years. 10. When does not yet become never? My friend Michael came over last weekend and found me stress cleaning the entire house, which apparently I do when I am having a breakdown. He sat me down and said something that hit home. "Dan, you didn't leave because she wasn't ready for marriage. You left because she wasn't ready for marriage but was willing to let you waste years of your life hoping she'd change her mind." He is right. This isn't about marriage timelines. This is about honesty, about respect, about not leading someone on when you know deep down you will never give them what they need. I am 41 years old. I don't have endless years to wait for maybes that are really no's in disguise. Laura texted me yesterday asking if we could meet for coffee and talk things through. Her text said, "I know I messed up, but I am willing to compromise now. Maybe we could do a long engagement, or just get engaged and figure out the wedding later. I just miss you so much." I stared at that text for an hour. Even now, even after everything Sarah told me, she is still trying to find a middle ground that doesn't actually give me what I want. I didn't respond. There is nothing left to talk through. She made her choice every time she said not yet, while secretly hoping I would stop asking. I made mine when I finally listened. Update 3. A lot has happened in the past few weeks, and I want to wrap this up so I can actually close this chapter of my life. First, Laura never stopped reaching out, texts, calls, emails, even showing up at my office once. Everything from I miss you to I am ready to talk about marriage now to I realize I made a mistake. She brought coffee from our favorite place and just sat in the lobby until I agreed to talk to her. She looked terrible, like she hadn't been sleeping. She kept saying she had been doing a lot of thinking and that she was ready to compromise. But compromise on what? On wanting to marry me? On being excited about our future? You cannot compromise someone into loving the idea of marrying you. I didn't respond to most of her messages. There is a difference between wanting to marry someone and wanting to keep them from leaving. But then, 2 weeks ago, she sent a text that said everything. I talked to a therapist and realized I was scared of marriage because I thought it would change us. I liked us the way we were. I thought if I kept saying not yet, you would realize we didn't need marriage to be happy. I was trying to protect what we had. I know I hurt you, but I was trying to protect us. Protect us. By lying to me for years about her intentions, I stared at that text for a long time, and then I understood something that changed how I see this entire relationship. She wasn't protecting us. She was protecting herself from having an uncomfortable conversation. So she decided to waste years of my life instead of risk losing me by being honest. That is when I finally responded. My first and last text to her: Laura, I hope you find someone who wants exactly what you want. I hope you find someone who doesn't need marriage to feel secure and loved. You deserve that, and so do I. I am blocking your number now so we can both move forward. Take care, and I did. Blocked her number, asked our mutual friends not to give me updates about her life. The relief was immediate and overwhelming. The right person will not need to be convinced. The right person will say yes because they cannot imagine saying anything else. The dating apps are an adventure. 41-year-old architect energy is apparently appealing to some people, which has been a confidence boost I didn't know I needed. But I am not rushing into anything. I am focusing on rebuilding friendships I neglected, getting back into photography and hiking, hobbies I had abandoned during the relationship, and figuring out who I am when I am not waiting for someone else to choose me. I have been going to therapy too, trying to understand how I became someone who would accept maybe for 6 years. My therapist says it is common for people who value loyalty and commitment to assume others share those values, even when their actions suggest otherwise. Michael was right when he said, "At least I know what I want now. And I know I will never again accept maybe as an answer to will you marry me?" Last weekend, I ran into Sarah at the grocery store. She told me Laura is dating someone new, a guy she met through work who doesn't believe in marriage. Sarah said they seem happy together, that Laura seems more relaxed than she has been in years. Good for them. Seriously, they want the same things. They are compatible in a way Laura and I never were. Sarah also said something that stuck with me. You saved both of you from years more of misery. Laura was never going to marry you, and you were never going to stop wanting marriage. Someone had to be brave enough to end it. I guess that someone was me. Sarah also told me that Laura had said something interesting after they had been dating for a few weeks. It is such a relief to be with someone who doesn't want to change our relationship into something more serious. That is when I realized that Laura hadn't been scared of marriage in general. She had been scared of marriage with me, not because I wasn't good enough, but because deep down, she knew I wasn't the one she wanted forever with. That is okay. It hurts. But it is okay. Better to know than to keep pretending. 3 months ago, I thought my life was ending when Laura said not yet for the second time. Now I realize it was finally beginning. I am done waiting for maybes. The right woman will say yes. And when she does, it will be because she cannot imagine saying anything else. Sometimes the person you love most isn't the person you should be with. Sometimes walking away is the kindest thing you can do for both of you.